Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to the May 23rd council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Balestrea. Present. Mr. DeJohn.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mr. Monaco.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the approval of the minutes from our council meeting, May 9th, 2022. I hope everyone's had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta. Second by Mr. Monaco. Are there any changes, amendments, or deletions to those minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain. I was absent.
You were absent. Okay, thank you, Mike. Next, does any member of council have any correspondence or announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. A community meeting was held on Wednesday, May 18th, here in council chambers to update the residents on the Aquatic and Community Center project. Our architect, Chris Trotta, was present and presented the updates and design plans for the interior, exterior materials, floor plans, community rooms, history wall, gymnasium, concession area, and the many activities individuals of all ages will be able to enjoy when visiting the pool. The meeting was fairly well attended. It allowed those residents who were there to see the design plans firsthand and to ask any questions. And they did have questions, so it was a good meeting, I thought. We had our shred and recycling day Saturday. The event was very well attended, as it is every year. The collection totals for both the shredding and the computer recycling, when the data is available, I'll share with council and share with the community. It was great to see the number of residents who participated, and it underscores the value of recycling these materials. And I want to thank the service department who did a great job helping that day. Raising Cane's grand opening is scheduled for this Thursday, May 26th at 8 a.m. They will be a welcome addition to the city. I know my kids can't wait till the thing opens. So, our annual Memorial Day ceremony will be held on Monday, May 30th at 10 a.m. here at City Hall. And we welcome residents and veterans to attend as we honor all the men and women who have served our country. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the mayor? Okay. Law Director, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to announce that we closed on 1527 Rose Lawn today, so that property is now owned by the city. We don't have the right to possession yet because we gave them time to move out, but we do own it, so we're getting there. And that's all I have to report.
Great. Thank you so much. Any questions for the Law Director? Thank you. Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
Thank you. I did want to mention that we do have ordinance 22-18 on the agenda tonight for the notes for the Aquatic and Community Center. As required by law, you do have the certificate of fiscal officer in front of you that is required to be presented to council before they vote on the issue. And then also there was a minor verbiage changing in section 9 of the actual ordinance, so you have an updated copy in front of you also. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Fagan? I just wanted to ask a quick question about the email that you sent out about the tax.
Oh, the
tax
text.
receipts?
Yes.
Just, can you update us a little bit on that?
The city of Mayfield Heights is in a position that many communities would be very envious of right now. Through May, our collections are basically flat from last year, so we have not seen a decrease. We're actually up about $100,000, which is flat in the big picture. So as always, we will continue to monitor that and keep a very close eye on those and let you know of any changes that happen there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, we will move to our reports of committees, commissions, and boards, starting with the Building Commission, Mr. Mano.
Monaco.
Oh, Mr. Monaco.
Thank you.
One less ad, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening.
Okay, thank you. Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee did not meet. I do not have a report. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. No report.
Thank you. Public Works and Service, Mr. Balestrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Public Works did not meet. However, we do have Resolution 2022-37 on the agenda to approve the bid specs and award to the Veranda Brothers Construction Company for the Road Program B, which is the Long Ridge and Marshfield area. And I would ask council to go ahead and approve that resolution this evening.
Thank you. Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As the mayor said, the Memorial Day remembrance will take place in the parking lot of the police station off Chelmsford at 10 a.m. on May 30th. Our speaker will be Michael Harvey. Teen Camp is still taking registration for this adventure-filled camp. More information can be found on the website or call for details. Safety Town will have six one-week sessions this summer. The program will take place at Lander Elementary. The program is for children entering kindergarten in the fall of '22. The fee is $40. Our Silver Shooters Bocce will begin on June 7th at 11:15. The $50 fee includes a light lunch. Registration is required by calling 440-442-2627. Additional programs: adult tennis, youth tennis, cheer camp, volleyball camp, and more. For any more information on any of these activities, contact us at 440-442-2627 or go to the website www.mayfieldheights.org. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mano? Safety and Transportation Committee, Mrs. Tressi is not here this evening, so the member is Mr. Monaco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had no meeting, so therefore there is no report this evening.
Thank you. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Zoning did not meet, so I have no report. Thank you.
Thank you. And Planning Commission, Mr. Balestrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Planning Commission did not have an agenda, so we did not meet, and I have no report.
Thank you. All right. We will now proceed to the public portion of this meeting. Pursuant to City Code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak with a maximum of 30 minutes for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with the agenda item, this is your opportunity to address council. However, please note that this is not an opportunity for debate or slighted comments. If you would like to be heard this evening and have not done so already, please fill out the form located in the back on the table entrance, and during the public portion, I will call each person wishing to speak to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record. At this time, it is 7:14. We will open up the public portion, and I have Kathy Talbot.
Good evening, Kathy Tobin, 6470 Gates Mills Boulevard. I'm coming to recommend that the city notify residents whenever possible when they're going to be doing activity on the roads, maintenance. And I will say that this has been done in the past. When they were working on Gates Mills Boulevard, we got advance letters. We knew that they were working on the street. It was terrific. However, on May 13th, I was sitting in my kitchen, and I heard, with the contractor, thank goodness, and I heard this awful noise in my laundry room. And I went in, and there was stuff coming out of the pipes, splaying in above. Yes, that's what my face looked like. and I was panicked. Because I had had major plumbing work done, and I thought, oh my God, what's happening? And the contractor said, maybe they're jetting, maybe there's pulling, and it smelled awful. And we went down the driveway, and sure enough, there was a truck out 2 doors down. Went to talk to him. He was from the county, and he said, oh, Mayfield Heights contracts with us every 3 years, and they jet the main, right? But the force that it's done with, pull, I don't understand the dynamics, but it actually pulled and backed up all of that in their trap, Had I not been home and had come back and saw that, I would have been calling a plumber, I would have been freaked out. Had a contractor not been there to let me know, I would have been, I don't know if you've gotten any phone calls, if anybody else on the street, but I just want you to know what my personal experience was. I know that there have been cities that have put out little things when they're going to flush out the fire hydrants, that you're notified. I don't know if you knew they were coming. I have no idea. So I'm just bringing it to your attention that it would be nice to have known. I even went to the Facebook page and think, well, maybe they thought that was the best way. But Facebook doesn't work for me anyhow. But anyhow, I just want you to know that I wasn't quite the panic. And glad that I found out what it really was. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you. Maybe we could,
I'll check with Dan and Chuck.
okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else that would like to be heard? That's the only paper I had in front of me this evening. Okay. That's okay. Just state your name and address. for the record.
John Molchan, 1966 Reeds Court Trail, Westlake, Ohio, 44145. I'm sure you're all glad to see me back because it's been so long. We have variances to complete our construction. I don't know, I'm sure you've all noticed, the asbestos removal happened, the demolition is in process, the repair of the wall is in process. As we were getting ready to order the steel, of course, Mr. Putin invaded the Ukraine. Russia was the #1 net exporter of steel in the world, and Ukraine was #4. Price went up 70% in a matter of 2 weeks, and supply just went off the charts. So things have returned kind of to normal, but the earliest we can get steel delivered is August right now. We're going to be requesting a variance extension to September 30th.
Okay, thank you. If anybody has any questions during the vote, we'll call you back.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard? Okay, I'll close the public portion. It is 7:17. Move to resolutions, beginning with resolution number 2022-37. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-37, a resolution awarding a contract to Vandra Brothers Construction, Inc. for the 2022 Road Program B in accordance with the bid specifications and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Monaco, second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Monaco.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria, second by Mr. Mano. Everyone should have received the memo. It had been recommended by the city engineer and now this evening by Mr. Balestria that we should accept the bid from Vandra Brothers. The bid for the 2022 Program B was in the amount of $1,272,976. And this was the lowest and best bid. Are there any questions? Mr. DeJohn?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Do we anticipate, Mr. Gerson, any more funds that will have to be approved by this council after the project's done?
Don't know. Those would be unforeseen conditions, but we did bid unit prices. We did drive down the streets. We tried to estimate the things that we could. Things we can't see is when we take the asphalt off and see what we get, but we are able to figure out how much asphalt is on the street area-wise, how many catch basins look to be done, but we will advise you before anything's done and if anything's different from what the contract is. But we do have a unit price contract, and we'll advise you as soon as we get some answers on it.
So we will be tarring the base before we asphalt?
We have chip seal in there, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Resolution 2022-37 has been approved. Resolution 2022-38, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2022-38, a resolution extending for a second time the variances from the codified ordinances granted to Fairchild Management Company at 1413 Golden Gate Boulevard, Mayfield Heights, Ohio. Cuyahoga County permanent parcel numbers 862-06-050, 862-06-071, 862-06-072, and 862-06-073, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. Belstrea. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea, second by Mr. Monaco. Council has already approved and granted these variances on October 26th of 2020. The variances were extended and approved on September 27th of 2021, and these will expire on June 30th of 22, before the construction of the project has started. This resolution grants Fairfield Construction an extension so they do not have to go back before the Board of Zoning. And we already heard from Mr. Moulton this evening. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. DeJohn?
Well, I'll be voting no on this because I voted no on the entire project, just so the council knows. Thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
No.
Mr. Monaco?
I abstain as I am not familiar with those variances. I wasn't here when they were granted.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Resolution number 2022-38 has been approved. Moving to ordinances, beginning with ordinance number 2022-18, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2022-18, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of not to exceed $33 million of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of constructing, reconstructing, furnishing, equipping, and otherwise improving municipal facilities comprising an aquatic and a community center, including all necessary related improvements and appurtenances thereto, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
second by Mr. Balestrea. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestria?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Mano. This ordinance would allow for the issuance of notes for the Aquatic and the Community Center. The fiscal officer's certificate has been presented to council before its consideration of the legislation, as it is required by law. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Balestrea.
I just have a question for Finance Director. Mrs. Fagan, when, and maybe you put it out there and I missed it, but you said initially we'll have the notes for a year, possibly with an extension for 2 years before we go out and get the bonds?
Correct. Normally, we don't bond it out till everything is totally finished with the project. So if in 1 year, yes, we hope to have the pool open, we hope to have the community center open, but I'm sure we'll still have trailing punch item list. So I have a feeling we would probably need to roll
Extend
those
those.
over at least once, and at that time, we would bond it out.
And then what do you think the time period will be for the payoff of those bonds? Do you have any anticipated?
Right now, we are looking at a blended method to make even debt service payments, and we're looking at a 25-year payback period.
25 years? Okay. Okay, thank you.
I just have a quick question. After passage of this, how soon do you start this process?
There's a lot of work that has to be done before we actually go to market with the notes, so we're actually starting things up in the next week or so to start getting the reports together. We have to schedule a rating meeting with Moody's to make sure that they get rated and to do all of that background information. The actual sale will actually take place in July.
Okay, thank you. Are there, Mr. Monaco?
A question is the purpose of paying cost of reconstructing. What are we reconstructing?
Well, we're reconstructing the parts of the service center, we're reconstructing other areas. It is boilerplate language that goes into all of the issuances. Make sure that we're covered along the way.
We're actually constructing a building. We're not reconstructing really anything.
Really? It does say constructing, too. It's constructing and reconstructing. There are certain items that are being reconstructed. We're reconstructing the service area. Because we're moving that over and reconstructing that. So we're reconstructing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole community center, right. And constructing it, yes.
Anything further? Okay. All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea?
Yes?
Mr. Monaco?
No.
Mr. DeJohn?
No.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Ordinance number 2022-18 has been approved. We will now move to motion A. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A motion ratifying the action of a majority of council in verbally approving the final site plan for a new 33,500 square foot, single-story building for the City of Mayfield Heights Aquatic and Community Center at 6306 Marsall Road.
So I'm asking that we motion A and table this evening.
I'll second it.
So motion A has been tabled.
Roll call, please.
Roll call on the motion to table.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes. Motion A has now been tabled. We'll now move to a new business and comments from council. Is there anyone that would like to speak on anything new, exciting? Mr. DeJohn.
I just want to let Mr. Murphy know that I'm still waiting for that light legislation. So, Mr. Murphy, I think by law, when a council person brings some legislation to council, ask you to write it, I think you need to write it and bring it back. I understand the mayor doesn't want this legislation, but I think it's appropriate to bring it back to let everyone vote on it. Thank you.
Mr. Murphy.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am still working on it. I didn't write it. It was presented to me. So I had to, basically start from scratch. There are numerous issues that, I found with regard to that particular ordinance that I'm still working through with the building director and the prosecutor and the chief of police. So when I can, it's currently tabled, so when I can get to it and make a recommendation, I will do that.
So do you think we'll have something before the end of the year? Because at the end of the year, then it'll come off the table and it's no longer valid, so.
No, it won't come off the table.
Well, we have that ordinance where anything that's on the table at the end of the year automatically comes off the table.
I think it's every 2 years, it's a session of council.
I think it's.
But anyway,
every year, so.
I would hope that I would be able to make a recommendation to council by the end of the year, if not before.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to highlight a little bit, we did have the meeting, and the recommendation, which was second, was that verbiage and something to view would come from the law director and the prosecutor. So can't really, that has to be done. Is that not correct, Mr. Murphy? Is that not what
Mr.
you're
Murphy?
doing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we were going to go through the ordinance that was prepared by Mr. DeJohn and look at that and see if that could be done, and if not, what we would recommend would be considered by council for adoption. And I have not completed that yet. And I did speak to the prosecutor today, so we're working on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Miss-
Mr. DeJohn.
Yeah, Mrs. Sabetta, you did say that at the last council meeting. You are chair of the legislative committee, so I would hope you would stay on top of this too, like I'm trying to stay on top of it. Thank you.
I am on top of it.
Well, what do you think is a legitimate amount of time that this, it's been 2 months,
Mr. DeJohn,
2 months.
she said she'll look into it and
Well,
we'll
I
make sure that.
still have another comment,
Okay,
Mrs. Snyder.
go ahead.
What is a legitimate amount of time that this should be done? It's been 2 months now.
Well, it's
I mean, isn't that unreasonable already, 2 months? I mean, I see emergency legislation come by me every other week. It's just crazy that it's taken this long. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could.
Mayor.
I think the most important thing to keep in mind here is the police chief, the prosecutor, and our law director have to feel comfortable with whatever they come up with. And that's what's being worked through right now. But I encourage you, Mr. DeJohn, to go up and down our street and look at the lights, okay? Your garage light shines directly in my front window. You would be in violation of that current, how it's written. This is a neighbor issue. This is not something that I think we want to stir in the way you want to stir it. Not only drive up and down our street. Mr. Monaco suggested the light shouldn't cross the property line. That's impossible. That's impossible. So the way that you are trying to construct this is just not practical. And to attack me that I don't want it, or to attack the law director, is wrong.
Mr. DeJohn. Oh, did you
Mayor,
have
with
your
all
hand
due
up?
respect, that light on my, lights up my garageway is, my garage, it's attached to my garage, it lights up my driveway, is a motion-censored light and does go off. And that was written into the legislation that could be permitted. We're using this legislation to prevent people from keeping lights on all night long and irritating other residents and pointing them at their house, lighting up their backyards. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
Just by point of example, I discussed this with the prosecutor today because there is a question whether or not this could be passed retroactively, so that even if your legislation were passed verbatim, which it will not be unless council chooses to, that would be prospective. You're not going to be able to do it retroactively, so it won't affect any of the lighting in the city at this point in time.
Anything further? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Belstrade. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.